What's going on, guys? MMA Outlaw back here with another YouTube video. This time, we are going to be breaking down the UFC heavyweight division, fixing what is the worst division in the UFC at the moment. And you see my boy, Tom Aspinall, with the cloth on his eye after Cyril Gane gouged his eyes out in his last fight. And so you may be asking, how are we going to fix this treacherous division? You see those rankings. Rizvan Kuniev in ranked number 6 after 2 fights in the UFC, one being a loss. Man, so this is going to be a rough one. One name you won't hear me say this entire time is John Jones. Get that guy out of my mind, out of sight. If he wants to fight Tom Aspinall, be my guest, but he will get slept in 2 seconds against Tommy Aspinall. So let's get right into it. With Tom Aspinall sitting out on the sidelines for a little bit with a few eye surgeries, what is going to happen in the heavyweight division? We're going to have Cyril Gane take on Alex Poatan Pereira, moving up from the UFC light heavyweight division, vacating his title. Alex Poatan Pereira is moving up to fight Cyril Gane in what will be a striker's delight, an absolute banger in the heavyweight division. Man, it doesn't get much better than this. Cyril Gane, a point fighter, kind of keeps people at range. You're seeing a lot of that left kick from Cyril Gane. Poatan Pereira is going to mirror that southpaw stance, though, of Cyril Gane. And I'm really curious to see who can get it done here. I think Alex Poatan Pereira would work Cyril Gane. I think that power that we saw translate from middleweight to light heavyweight will simultaneously translate to the heavyweight division. And I do just think Cyril Gane has been fed these opportunities. And maybe this is a little bit of hate towards Cyril Gane, but I cannot stand this guy. I cannot stand him. I do not want to see this guy win a UFC belt. I'm tired of seeing this man get UFC title shots. It's too much in this heavyweight division. Give him Alex Poatan Pereira. Poatan, please do us all a favor and put Gane's lights out. The winner of this fight, man, will go into a title unification bout once Tom Aspinall, he just got his second eye surgery. Once Tom Aspinall is recovered from eye surgery and all of that is squared away, the winner of Alex Poatan Pereira versus Cyril Gane will take on Tom Aspinall in a UFC heavyweight title unification bout. Hopefully, that we can make this Poatan Gane fight happen sometime in April, and we can see that Aspinall fight sometime in the late summer, as I know he's coming back from eye surgery. But beyond just the championship fights, what do we do with the rest of these rankings, right? We see, Cyril Gane is ranked number 1, and we're pulling someone up from light heavyweight, the champ from light heavyweight, to fight for the vacant title. So what does that mean for the rest of the division? That means the next matchup to make is Alexander Volkov versus Waldo Cortez Acosta. You have seen in Alexander Volkov fights a relentless ability to keep people at range. He's 6'7", 6'7" to 6'9". This man is huge for even the UFC heavyweight division. We all remember his fight against Cyril Gane. Look at that verdict scorecard. Everyone and their mother knows, man, Cyril Gane did not win that fight. Cyril Gane did not win that fight. Come on now. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that. Waldo Cortez Acosta coming off a few bangers in a row, 3 knockouts in a row. If you remember that Ante Delija fight, Ante coming in there, just poking eyes, You know what Waldo does? He said, Ante, I know you're the teammate of Tom Aspinall. I know my eye is hurting right now. I know I can't see out of it. And he said, F it. He said, F it. I'm going to keep fighting. And then he knocked out Ante Delija right after the eye poke, after Ante Delija thought he had won by knockout. A lot of confusion going on in that fight, but a huge win for Waldo Cortez Acosta, following up with a big win over Shamil the Blob Gaziev, who you will see later in this video being matched up, and another big KO over Derrick Lewis in his last fight. And man, Waldo to win by KO against Derrick Lewis was only something like -130. It was incredible value. Obviously, Waldo is going to be able to put his lights out. And Volkov is coming off of a big win against Jailton Almeida. We all know Almeida got cut after that performance just because he was holding Volkov down. He wanted nothing to do with the fighting. And honestly, I thought Almeida won that fight 2-1. But they sent it back Volkov's way after getting robbed by Cyril Gane. And they said, we just can't have a style like Jailton Almeida in the UFC. And so his butt got cuffed and cuffed. His butt got cut. And so what does that bring us? That makes it so. Number 2 is ranked up with number 5 in the heavyweight division. So what comes next after that? And after that, we got Rizvan Kuniev versus Sergey Pavlovich. We know Pavlovich is a freaking monster in the heavyweight division. We all remember when he went on that KO run to start his career in the heavyweight division, then got on 3 weeks' notice a call to fight for the vacant. What was the vacant, or was it interim at that? I think it was the interim heavyweight belt against Tom Aspinall, as John Jones was out with that pec injury. And Tom Aspinall slept him. That fight was like -140, +110, or +120 odds. And Tom Aspinall, the -140 favorite, put Sergey Pavlovich on skates, put him away with the first right hand that he hit him with. Pavlovich had another difficult matchup right after that, fighting Alexander Volkov. And Volkov, did what Volkov does, kept him at bay, used that front kick to the body, used that jab and that left hand behind it, and really looked good in that fight. But since then, Sergey Pavlovich has come back with 2 big UD wins against Waldo Cortez Acosta and Jairzinho Rozenstruik. And what we've seen from Rizvan Kuniev since he's been in the UFC has been nothing short of, high-level competition is what I'll call it. In his last fight against Jailton Almeida, we saw Almeida get Almeida'd. Jailton Almeida got held against the fence, got beaten with control time. Almeida could not get a takedown on Kuniev, which speaks to Kuniev's ability to grapple. And in his last fight as well, he had a really, really razor-close fight with Curtis Razor Blaydes. He lost that fight by split decision, but you can see the verdict scorecard here in the right-hand corner. That fight was a close one. It was really, really a close one. And so that fight could have gone either way. I know people at the UFC brash really do like Rizvan Kuniev, really believe that he has what it takes to fight at that high level. And so this gives him that opportunity. If we go back to the rankings, we see Rizvan Kuniev is sitting there solidly at number 6. And we got Sergey Pavlovich there at number 3. So we're giving Kuniev an ability to jump up the rankings, potentially get some fresh blood in the UFC heavyweight division, because, man, this division has been stagnant. But now that we have 2v5 matched up, we got 3v6 matched up, we got 1 fighting for the interim belt, where does that leave us? That leaves us with Curtis Razor Blaydes taking on Sergey Spivak. I'm sorry, I almost said Sergey Pavlovich. Got a little carried away talking about the Russian before, but we saw Sergey Spivak, one of our best bets last weekend, come out with a huge win against Ante Delija, looking really good on the feet, looking faster than he ever has before. But we saw, for the first time, Sergey Pavlovich not really grapple. Now I'm going back and forth. Sergey Spivak not really grapple. And so we're going to put him, one of the more boring heavyweights in the UFC. You remember seeing this fight from our matchups video last episode. But we're going to put one of the more boring fighters in the UFC against another one of the more boring fighters in the UFC heavyweight division. Kind of try and eliminate one of them from top-level contention. And both these guys have had, really good performances and then not so great performances. Sergey Pavlovich losing to Waldo Cortez Acosta. Sergey Spivak, I apologize, I keep doing that. Sergey Spivak losing to Cyril Gane, losing to Jailton Almeida, losing to Waldo Cortez Acosta. And we have seen Curtis Blaydes, have a really close split decision fight with Rizvan Kuniev. We got him getting KO'd by Sergey Pavlovich. We've seen him KO'd by Tom Aspinall before. And so we've seen Derrick Lewis KO Curtis Blaydes. We've seen, we've seen Curtis Blaydes be flatlined before. And so this is a fight that, honestly, when I was going through and I was making it, I had to scroll through the careers and I was like, I'm surprised this fight hasn't already happened. Let's get two of the more boring fighters together in the heavyweight division, and let's have them scrap it out and figure out who really deserves a spot in the rankings. And so, if we go back to our rankings, we now have Cyril Gane, the number one contender, fighting Alex Poatan Pereira for the UFC interim light heavyweight, Poatan is a light heavyweight, moving up to heavyweight, fighting for the vacant UFC heavyweight belt. We have Volkov taking on number 5, Waldo Cortez Acosta. We got Sergey Pavlovich taking on number 6, Rizvan Kuniev. We have Curtis Blaydes, number 4, taking on number 7, Sergey Spivak. And so, where does that leave us in the heavyweight division? It leaves us with one of the most exciting prospects who you will not even see in the rankings. But if you're a hardcore UFC fan, if you're an American, if you're excited to see the UFC White House card, you're hoping this guy is on it. What's the matchup? It's Derrick Lewis versus Josh Hokit. Derrick Lewis versus Josh the Hulk Hokit. If you remember Josh Hokit, he's the mean green lion machine. He talks like Chael Sonnen. You know, he's the father's dream, your mother's weem. He's comes out with all the rhymes at the end of his post-fight press conferences, and has really entered the UFC with a bang. 2 big wins, both coming by first-round KO. Really, really impressive performances. And previous to that, has had an impressive career in LFA, fought in Bellator for the first few fights of his career, and won both of those by submission. So you know that Josh Hokit has a well-established game and all-around style, and we got to put him against the black beast, Derrick Lewis. You know Derrick Lewis is one of Donald Trump's favorite fighters. He's been asked if he will fight on the UFC White House card. You know Derrick Lewis wants to. And we need to see Derrick Lewis take on an up-and-coming American fighter. Because to be honest, Derrick's skill level is not where it was previously. It's not where it has been before. And so Josh Hokit is a really good matchup because regardless of who wins for the UFC, we're propelling someone with an American base forward, particularly at the White House. And I really do think Josh Hokit's post-fight interview at a White House event would go so hard. And this fight right here, if Josh the Hulk Hokit wins, we might save the UFC heavyweight division with this guy right here. And so where does that leave us? Let's go back to the rankings. If we go back to the rankings, we can see Derrick Lewis is firmly there at number 11. And so, with that being said, if we give Josh the Hulk Hokit this matchup, we give him an opportunity to propel himself after 2 wins in the UFC into that 10 to 15 range in the heavyweight division. And then Josh the Hulk Hokit could only be 2 fights away after this one from a UFC heavyweight title. And this is what I'm saying about the heavyweight division. We got to get some fresh blood in there. We got to get some good matchups because, man, it looks super bleak. And we need the champion Tom Aspinall to have some legit contenders to go against. And so, where does this leave us after matching up Derrick Lewis and Josh the Hulk Hokit? We've matched up nearly the entire top 10, and Jailton Almeida is still sitting there at number 8. But let me tell you, Jailton Almeida has been cut from the UFC. And if we're going back down the rankings a little bit more, Marcin Tybura, who's firmly ranked there at number 10, already has a matchup scheduled with number 14, the heel hook king, Walter Walker. And so that'll be an exciting banger. And so I'm not going to match those 2 guys up knowing that they're already matched up to fight each other. And so where does that leave us in the heavyweight division? It leaves us with Ante Delija versus Taliesin Teixeira. Ante Delija, coming off of that loss against Sergey Spivak, looked pretty decent in that loss, looked pretty fast on the feet, honestly had much better takedown defense than I was anticipating, and I can't even be too upset with Ante Delija's performance. I had Sergey Spivak, and I thought he performed better than I had originally anticipated. But we know Ante Delija is a seasoned vet in this game. I believe he's 36, trains with Tommy Aspinall, our boy, the champion Tom Aspinall. Has fought in the PFL, has a long MMA record, is 1-2 now in the UFC, coming off of 2 losses, getting KO'd by Waldo Cortez Acosta, but entered the UFC with a bang, KO Marcin Tybura. And so we know Ante Delija is kind of in that 8 to 15 range of the heavyweight division. And you know who is sitting right there to match up with him? We got Thaleson Teixeira, the young up-and-comer, the 6'7" Brazilian striker, who honestly looked horrible against Bam Bam Tai Tuivasa. And so with that, both Bam Bam and Thaleson Teixeira were totally gassed out. We saw Thaleson Teixeira get slimed out by Derrick Lewis. And so he beat Justin Tafa, won his fight by knockout on the Contender Series. What we've seen from Thaleson Teixeira is a tendency to gas out, and he has an ability to knock you out in the first few minutes, but he also has the ability to get flatlined really fast. And so I believe, this gives Ante Delija a good opportunity to potentially bounce back. This also gives a young up-and-coming prospect, Thaleson Teixeira, an opportunity to move up in the rankings against a guy who has taken 2 consecutive losses and is on the older side. And so this could be the changing of the guard in the UFC heavyweight division. But honestly, I would think Ante Delija wins this fight, but I think it would be a really, really exciting fight to watch. Again, probably a striker's delight. I know Thaleson Teixeira doesn't want to take it to the ground. Ante Delija typically doesn't want to take it to the ground. And so really, really be a good matchup. And so if we go back to the rankings, that would have us matching up number 9, Ante Delija, versus number 12, Thaleson Teixeira. So again, give Thaleson Teixeira that opportunity to move up. Gives Ante Delija a little bit of a step down in competition, see if he can rebound from his 2 back-to-back losses. But those back-to-back losses were against top-level competition in the UFC heavyweight division, so he can't be too upset with himself with those performances. But I really do think that would be a good matchup. And so we got Cyril Gane matched up against Alex Poatan Pereira, with the winner taking on Tom Aspinall in a unification bout. We got Volkov taking on Waldo Cortez Acosta. We got Sergey Pavlovich taking on Kuniev. We got Blaydes taking on Spivak. We got Almeida getting cut. We got Delija taking on a young up-and-comer in Thaleson Teixeira. We got Tybura taking on Walter Walker. We got Derrick Lewis taking on Josh the Hulk Hogan. And so that gets us down to number 13, our GOAT, our absolute GOAT, Shamil the Blob Gaziev. Who do we have Shamil matched up with? And let me just tell you, it is going to be a treat. Our boy Shamil Gaziev had Mick Parkin. Shamil Gaziev versus Mick Parkin. That's the fight to make right here, right now, to finish out the fights in the top 15. Let's get number 13 ranked Shamil Gaziev against number 15 ranked Mick Parkin. Mick Parkin has had a great UFC career thus far. A training partner of Tom Aspinall, has that big, ploddy style, almost like Gaziev, keeping those hands up and going straight down the middle. We've seen Mick Parkin look good on the ground with some submissions. I believe his win on the Contender Series was via key lock, a submission you do not see very often. So we know he's got ground skills. We know Shamil Gaziev's got some good wrestling and some big hands. We've seen him knock out Thomas Peterson. We've seen him KO Martin Budai, who's a really, really good win at the time, a ranked UFC heavyweight at the time. So really, really good wins from both of these guys. We've seen a little bit more consistency from Mick Parkin, but a little bit higher level of competition from Shamil Gaziev. And so let's get this fight out of the way. Let's see who is going to make a name for themselves in the top 15, and that will allow us to complete the fights that should be made amongst the heavyweight division. Shamil Gaziev versus Mick Parkin. That's the last fight here we need to make. That matches up the entire UFC heavyweight division 1 through 15. Make sure they have the next fight. UFC, if you're listening to me, these fights, this right here is how you fix the UFC heavyweight division. So that's all that MMA Outlaw has for you today. Thank you guys for tuning in for another video. There should be a predictions video coming out on Thursday, and this one will probably be dropping on Tuesday, I believe. And so thank you guys for following along. Like and subscribe. MMA Outlaw out.